Here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Industry Sessions. My name is Chris Wade, and I am your Music Forward host today. Music Forward is a national nonprofit organization inside the Live Nation family with a mission to transform young lives, inspire careers, and champion a more inclusive music industry. Music Forward provides artist development and career development programs to inspire the next generation. To check out our programs, find out more at the links in our chat. We're excited to bring you our final episode of Industry Sessions for the season, where we connect our communities to the music industry and discuss current trends and career pathways. I have an exciting panel today, and I'm eager to get started, so I want to invite our special industry guest to join me on camera. Everyone, please welcome Akilah Robinson from Warner Records, Dior Ashley Brown, the founder of DC Music Summer, and Teamwork Music's founder and producer, Sha Money XL. In honor of Black Music Month, we're going to dive into a conversation celebrating Black music and its impact on the music industry. Music is a direct expression of a culture's collective and its parts. Today, we're joined by some of the industry's top leaders and tastemakers, using their voices to tell stories about their culture through music. So let's begin with our panelists to tell us a little bit more about themselves. Let's start with Dior. Please tell us about your career and your journey making it to this point in the industry.
Yes, I'm a DC-based artist, musician, actor, activist. I founded the DC Music Summit, which is what started in 2016 as a yearly conference that brought musicians and industry professionals in the region together to learn about how to sustain their business, how to become better professionals, and also be empowered about how they can use their resources in the industry. And I started that in 2016. We just had our most recent one, our fourth annual one, that was virtual this year, May 21st to the 23rd. And I've been very, very active in trying to evolve the DMV region as far as music and business.
So now I love DMV. Y'all have your own flavor of music, go-go, and your own
Yeah.
vibes, language, the whole thing. You got DZ has its own thing. It's like, I love it. I love it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Akilah, could you please tell us a little bit about your path to becoming an executive?
Absolutely. My name is Akilah Robinson. I work at Warner Records, a VP of Creative Services on the video and content side. So music videos, thanks to COVID, live streaming performances, lyric videos, visualizers, any commercial content that we produce on the hip hop and R&B side at Warner Records. So I work with artists, shout out to the DMV, Wale, who's just coming back to give y'all a summer again. Brent Joy, Sweetie, just a lot of anything coming out of Warner Records on the urban side. I'm touching the visuals, working with their teams to help make official video content.
So I have a lot of good friends over at Warner. You're around some good people over there for sure.
We have a good time for sure.
Yeah, I know. And last but not least, Sha Money XL. Please give us a little bit about your path to becoming a legendary producer and executive.
Sha Money XL, producer, record executive from Queens, New York. Came up producing for a lot of acts. Broke wild with some hit acts from Queens, my crew G Unit. We, took it to a new level that turned me into a record exec. And then from there, I went on to A&R and become A&R senior vice president of A&R Def Jam, as well as Epic, and continue to sign other acts. So I just, find new talent, develop them, as well as produce them and get them out here to the market.
We're glad to have everybody on this panel. We only have a lot of time. We only have about 55 minutes to talk. So I want to dig into it because this topic of Black music is, I'm sure, near and dear to all of our hearts. And I think we have a lot to share with the young audience that's joining us today. As a Black person or person of color, depending on how you identify, what was your experience navigating through this music industry, which we all know there's no straight line, there's no game plan laid out for you, and how were you able to create opportunities for yourself as a person of color, pushing boundaries in your respective pathways? Let's start with Akilah.
Okay. I'd like to say that I had a pretty lucky experience. I walked into J Records in the summer of 2007. So we were like Usher, Alicia Keys. Then on the other side, they had all the American Idol stuff going. And so in the content stuff, my boss was working everything. So I got to touch everything. But one of the things I remember all the time is when I walked into the J Records building, I saw just like a plethora of Black executives, and just people working there that looked like me. And I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. And it was just exciting to see. And it kind of gave me that energy from the jump to just like never be afraid to be myself, because there were people there, especially Black women. Like I have to shout out to that marketing team, the urban marketing team there. There were several Black women there who were killing it, and doing it with music that I grew up with and was listening to, 2 years ago in college, partying to this song. And it's like, you did that? So, that general excitement kind of started my career off not feeling isolated. And I think just being able to start there gave me the confidence going forward where, I tried not to allow myself to feel slighted or feel like I didn't deserve, because I already saw people doing it. And, I think that speaks a lot to this conversation of representation that's going on right now, that you do feel that empowerment if you see yourself there already. You see somebody who represents you and cares and is doing an amazing job, that it's like, oh, this is possible. I can do it. And, just to watch hip hop and R&B take off in the 2000s is just to like that commercial level, what I'm saying? It took it from like the underground, the coming up, and speaking to G Unit and all that you all did to just like commercialize the game, but still keep it true to what it is just like being able to walk into the building and see that already, and see the turn that was happening in the industry, and people understanding that like, oh, this is a thing, this is a valuable thing, we need to start investing in this. Like, did it happen right away? No, but like I do have to say that seeing that was a great first step for me.
Awesome. Shy, you have a different experience because you didn't go the executive route initially. You and G Unit, you guys came from the street side and moved into the business as entrepreneurs. So what was your experience like from that perspective?
Yeah, from that perspective, it pretty much went from my basement all the way to the building. So we started our own company here, created everything here, made all the music, and then we got a deal. And then all of a sudden we got our label deal for G Unit Records. So immediately I didn't go to work for nobody, but it was me and 50 doing what we did. I co-founded that with him and became the president of the company. So my experience was we having our own and then having to deal with, our partners such as Shady, Dr. Dre, and Interscope, Jimmy Iovine, and the whole staff. So it was a good experience, because at that time we was pretty much leading the way, because we set a tone that kind of led the direction. So we didn't have to take orders and we didn't have to answer to anyone. So we came in the game initially just from being self-made.
Yeah. And was that a different grind than maybe would say the more traditional route some people take, like intern and work their way up inside a building? Or did you face unique challenges that other people didn't?
For me, I did some time interning. I went to NYU, and after I went to a marketing program, and then I actually interned at Def Jam. So that's how I got the connection. So you got to balance it. So that's the sweat equity I put into the game by being an intern and finding the contacts, meeting Chris Lighty, meeting Dante Ross, meeting certain people like Leo Cohen's, Julie Greenwald, that I still would deal with to this day as an intern. And they saw me come up. And then the next time they saw me, I had a superstar that I brought to the game. So it was a good balance between both, because I did this, what we had to do in Queens, but then I went to the buildings in the city and seeing how the actual corporate structure was formed, which later led me to being a record executive. So you need to both balance at the same time.
I love it. Dior, talk about your experience being in DC and making major moves for the culture there.
Yeah, so not to get it twisted, I'm still navigating. We're all still navigating, because the scene is constantly changing. I mean, it's terribly different from even 2003, 2006 to right now. With everything, with the internet booming, with YouTube, Twitch. I mean, it's just constantly changing. And navigating for me was really interesting, because early on, as a female MC, there wasn't a lot of embracing between the women. So it was a lot of like pitting us against each other. And later on, we began to see, I would say now, that the way is to connect, the way is to build. And for me in the scene, I was always looking for the need. and how could I solve that need? And so I constantly always built community and spaces. And I always felt that what we had in front of us was everything we needed. I was surrounded by awesome talent. I was surrounded by spaces that were paying for artists to perform, amazing spaces like the Kennedy Center, Warner Theater, 930 Club, all these places and hubs that artists were coming to. And I was like, why don't we just value what we already have? And so that's what I've been doing a lot is teaching others to see their value and to work with their own community. So I was a part of small little groups called like 7 Yards and Fatal Industries, Films, Records, and Skateboards. And we were building our own hub and our own spaces to get people to see our value, to the point people thought we were on when we were just passionate about doing what we were doing and working together, and kind of seeing this apex that if we support each other, we'll get somewhere. So the DMV is very peculiar in community, but I've been fighting really hard to connect each other, connect everyone.
That's dope. That's dope. I know your apology. I actually incorrectly stated the name of your event. It's called DC Music Summit. I said DC Music Summit.
DC Music Summit. No problem. We're a DC-based nonprofit now. I'm very excited. Everybody's seeing the hub. We're becoming a flagship. Everyone is seeing the value of being empowered by this organization. And it's not that, oh, you can't go to a label, but know how to do business with the label, or know how to email someone to even introduce yourself. And that's a lot of things I think we lack right now in a lot of the community. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I want to dig into like this topic of Black music, right? And so I'm gonna stay with you for a second. What is Black music to you? What does it mean to you?
Oh my goodness, there's so many different layers to the question. Black music is who I am. I come from jazz, funk, soul, rock and roll, R&B. It is the makings of who I am. Actually, Black music is the industry. It is the root of everything is bouncing off of what Black music does. And so to me, Black music is the future, and acknowledging that Black music is a layer of self-awareness. You are coming to a better understanding of self if you understand the value and the contribution to your roots to Black music.
I love it. And I would also even like add on to that and say that Black music is the past too. I mean, we are the creators of the first originally American music in jazz, right? Like, so we are the precursor and also the future. I love it. Sha, you have a ton of, go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
well, that's okay. There's a phrase that I think it's Healy Sankofa, that means to go back and get it. So without the past, we'd be unable to move forward anyway, but absolutely, we are the past and the present, absolutely.
Sha, we were talking before the cameras started rolling, and you were talking about all the collection of music you have and a variety of genres. But I noticed as you were talking, a lot of those genres are still very centered around Black culture, or African American culture. What does Black music mean to you?
I mean, this is the foundation of my life. From the first time I heard music, you know what I'm saying? The first thing that I heard and felt emotion from hearing Bob Marley, and just like, wow, this is motivational. Hearing Marvin Gaye and just knowing that we still got a lot of change, like, so you could feel the energy and you could feel everything through the music. At least I know I can. And, especially with the right songwriter, the right producer, when they come together and make this music, it can inspire you, in so many different ways. And for me, it was always been positive. Music never inspired me negatively. Like, even people coming from the hood, I understand their pain in the song, but it don't inspire me to do nothing negative. You know what I mean? So it's just certain things, So music for me was a savior. It got me out the hood. It changed my life. So, but Black music in its whole, jazz, soul, even rock, everything, we come into any genre and we're a part of it, whether we're playing bass, guitar, drums, or rapping, singing, or backgrounds. We're the whole foundational of it, So, this is what I love, man. And I think Black music is popular music. It is pop music. It's music, You don't even have to put the Black in front of it.
I just need to get to one of your brackets behind you, because I know that record right there is going to change my life.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
You got it all back there.
So yeah, music, the most, this is motivational, man, inspirational.
I love it. Akila, what's your take?
I mean, just to piggyback off both of them, it's my life, you know, it's what made me pay attention in church for the first time. It's the music, you know what I mean? It's, you know, my first friends. It's just like reading. I came up in the time where, you know, it's on magazines and Word Up and all these things. So it's just like you got to touch different parts of the country. You got to hear different stories, you know what I'm saying? We all know that, you know, Black people are not just one thing. And so being able to see people from the South, see people from the Midwest, see people from the West, see people from New York, like even growing up outside of Boston, it was just like, what's going on in New York? And there it is, like it's in the music. It draws you to these cities. And then that right there is a pathway into other things. Like I'm a very curious person. So I hear about an artist and then I want to know more about them. I want to know their story. I want to know where they come from. And it starts with the music that opens that door. And, you know, I'm like that to this day where it's like, it's my first introduction to a lot of things in my life. Like I love documentaries and now seeing things about when I was growing up and what the music was saying. Like it's the soundtrack to our lives, but it's the story, you know what I'm saying? It's a Black American story. If you're talking about, you know, hip hop and R&B, you know, it tells you from every region of the country what's going on in that time period. You know, if you really listen to the lyrics, you can be partying to somebody's life story. And that was always just amazing to me that like, not only can you get that story out there, but you also make it fun. It could be the saddest, the most depressing or like a hurtful topic, but if you can make it fun and you can release that energy that way to try to move forward, to try to, you know, progress your life, progress your people, you know, I got interested in the music business because of what I saw it was doing for people. It was just like, you know, to your point, Shamani, that, you know, you guys built an empire. You know what I'm saying, off the streets of Queens. And like, that's amazing to me. And so it's just like to see that happen all over the country, to see it still happening with young artists today and them, you know, knowing more about the business, you know, for things like what you're doing, Dior, is like, you know, we're educating, we're passing this message on. So not only does the music flourish, but like we get stronger, we get smarter, we get better with how we do this and how we present the music. So it's just like, it's a door opener for me.
Amen.
So there's a question from the audience that perfectly aligns with the question I was about to ask. So Casey, I'm going to like combine your question with the question I had. So it's two parts. The first part is, what specific issues do you think are being solved by some record labels eradicating the use of the word urban in defining their department titles? And then Casey's question is, do you think it's beneficial to even have these specific Black or urban music departments at labels, or do they actually box in artists and executives in some kind of way? So again, two complex kind of layered questions, but would love your take on it. Whoever wants to go first.
I think the urban label boxes in.
Yes.
So it's not needed, you know? Music across the board, you know, I could do every kind of genre and it doesn't matter. As a producer and even as a marketer, we all familiar, you know, with what it takes to get to the audience. So I think it needs to be just across the board, not no urban department at all.
Yeah.
So would you prefer to be titled Black music, or is just
no Black music, no urban, nothing, no head of Black music, nothing? We're head of all music. We're head of every company. We CEOs. We're not CEOs of Black music. So it shouldn't be in a little compartment somewhere under a bracket. It should just be across the board.
Yeah.
I have a challenging point to that, but I want to hear everyone else's point, because I hear what you're saying. I agree with you, but I could also see a counterpoint. So Dior, what were you about to say?
Well, I do kind of think that maybe if it was even recognized as BIPOC or Black or melanated or indigenous or African music, it would force people to acknowledge the culture that they love, the people of the culture that they love. Because I find oftentimes where people will love the music and the culture, but not the people. And to me, it would help them acknowledge where that came from and know its source. So, but I do understand where Shamani's coming from, because you know, in doing that, you know, we can have a more free, open society where it's not based on race. But unfortunately, we live in a society that is so concentrated in that. So, yeah.
I think it's almost more important that we redefine what pop music is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and not segregate Black music, urban music, hip hop, however you want to define it, from pop music. Like, pop is popular. So if this is the most popular music, then X, what would be urban artists, is just a pop artist. Like it's that weird crossover moment of like, when can you call yourself pop versus everybody can call themselves urban if it's a certain beat pattern, a certain, whatever. But I think it's more important to allow, not even allow, but I guess it is allow at this point, but like allow Black artists on these charts that have traditionally been, oh, well, no, that's pop music, i.e. white music. And it's kind of like, what's the difference? I read a stat the other day that like over 40% of musicians, writers, and producers credited to pop music are people of color. Right. So it's kind of like, it kind of just lets you know that it's music. And if you're at the top of the charts, you're a pop star, and you get all that comes with that. It's the same thing as like being Grammy nominated, being a Grammy winner, like that ticks you up a level. You know what I'm saying? That opens different doors for you, that gives you different opportunities. Your price point changes for shows or whatever the case may be. So it's like, if you can't be recognized in that segment of the music industry, then that's really what's not fair. And for me, in terms of like, in comparison to what we're going to call music, because music inherently has genres, like things come from things, and like it could be jazz fusion, but it's jazz in the genre of jazz, you know what I mean? Right. So I think it's more about how do we define, how do we give people the recognition that they deserve when they cross over certain thresholds.
Yeah, I agree with that point as well. I think what I heard you say, Shah, is that we as executives in particular should have the ability to oversee and manage and run any type of music because we understand music and we're executives.
Yeah. Right? That's right.
I guess my challenge point to what you were saying though is that a lot of times Black artists and executives do not like when there's usually a senior person that's white that is running the department and probably doesn't know as much about the music as you do, right? Mm-hmm. So how would we feel if that's a generalized thing, how we feel if someone who was really a rock guy was then overseeing the Black music department because it's all music? You see what I'm saying? Like, mm-hmm. I can see how that could work against the actual push to try to continue to create more equity in the business. Mm-hmm. But I agree with the point in general that we should have the access and the latitude to be executives of overall music, because a lot of times we know better than what good music is more than anyone. Mm-hmm. But I can also see that working in reverse depending on how it was actually structured based back to what Akilah was saying around how we actually define and put boundaries around how we're approaching our music.
So let me ask you this. If suppose L.A. Reid wasn't the chairman, he was just the head of Black music, would he not be, as the head of Black music, sign Justin Bieber or Meghan Trainor or Mariah Carey? So how do you become L.A. Reid and then you can't, some of the biggest stars he signed?
Agreed. I agree with that. And I think that's I'm not.
If he was boxed in as the head of Black music, would he be looking at those artists?
Yes, but then doesn't that also open up, and I don't want to go back and forth about this because we don't want to talk about it. But
I'm just saying generally as an executive, you want to have the power across the board.
Sure.
To do everything. Yeah. Of course, sign every race and artist from, everyone, but he was able to do it all and he was the chairman. He didn't have anything under that. He was just the chairman, just like the other guy was a chairman. Yep. That's my point. Just wanting to have that equal share of that same title that doesn't have an actual color attached to it.
I agree with that.
On the executive level, I agree for sure. Like if you get to, I think it's kind of my same point. Like on the executive level, if you are, proven to be the best marketer and you work your way up to run a label, then you are the head of the label. You shouldn't at that point just be segmented off into urban music because, okay, that's as far as you're going to go. Mm-hmm. Because, those skills go across the board. Okay. And I think, when you are defining genres and artists and where people sit and, chart placement, I think that's okay to still have genres there because, again, that's how we sort of rank things because everything needs a value. But I agree with you, Shah, that like once you're talking executive and once you're talking artists that even want to break out of a box is like if they have proven to be able to do it, then there should be no limitations on, how you define yourself as an artist. Because again, if you're Black and you walk into a label and you say, no, I'm a pop act, that shouldn't be what do we do with that? Like there should be, you know what to do with that. Yeah.
So on that point, a lot has changed over the past year, really since the unfortunate killing of George Floyd, where a lot of companies made promises, whether in changes in org structure, changes in the diversity of the complexion of their executive leadership, and also money towards certain initiatives and overall change. How do we ensure that these companies are not just following a trend of just saying that they're going to do these things, but actually really truly committing time, energy, and money long-term to diversity and belonging?
That's a good question.
I'm about to say it's a tough question. It's like, how do you hold any corporation accountable? It's
If you can't look at the books and understand,
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
you
They're
won't
gonna
be
let
able to
you
hold them
look.
accountable,
Right.
And I know from where I stand, from my last job in corporate structure and Epic, I was probably one of the few top guys on that VP level. So, and that's thanks to LA Reid, he gave me that play, and, for me, I consciously email all the executives, just reach out to them. And, you got to also be accountable just for the communication process too, because a lot of them don't even communicate back. So, they can just be hidden and just not have to deal. And the one or two that they do raise up is the one that they make the example out of. But you're talking about one or two.
Right.
We need a lot, not just one or two guys or females that get raised to the top. We need a lot of them across the board, even in the room.
Yeah.
I think
And I will say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I think it's once we get to the point where we feel like we don't have to check in and ask anymore. You know what I'm saying? Where it feels like you walk in the building and you feel represented. You go into that meeting and it's like, oh, okay, this feels like this is a group of people. And it doesn't have to be a room full of, all people of color, but it's just like, this feels like a group of people that understands what I want to do as an artist or, whatever meeting you're walking into. But yeah, I think with anything, if you're not asking for it anymore, then the goal has been met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do we, I'm sorry, do you already have a point?
Well, I was just going to say, in redirecting where we put the power. Right. So if we're keep looking to those entities to distribute and because we've already proven that the Black dollar and when we invest in our communities, it advances. So I think that if we could redirect our mindset to giving the right entities the power that are going to, and have diversity of all kinds and inclusion, then that could help force those companies to invest in making sure that there is diversity, there are people of color represented.
Absolutely.
And I also want to say this. I'm encouraging a lot of my fellow brothers that I know from this industry that's in their 40s, that's out of a job right now, that have high qualifications, and a lot of females that I know with the same level of smart levels, and they just not having a job right now because for some reason there's just no space or whatever. And I also encourage them to keep emailing these people, keep emailing, right? Then you have a few companies that saying they're for the music industry coalition, for this whole Black thing. And then I said, let's email them too. And then you see that no one responds. And that's what you get out this industry. A lot of talk, a lot of little posts for social media, and it disappears. They put one or two on top and then it just goes away. So for me, I got a troop of people that I communicate with that we all know we're reaching out to these people. We're reaching out to all the top white execs. We're reaching out to them and we're hitting them up just to see what this response rate is like and to see if it is being received and if we're actually getting some of these guys and females that are out of jobs back into jobs.
So that was my next question, because I wanted to get your temperature check on how much has actually changed over the past year based off all the commitments that were made and all the talk. Do you all see, because I've seen some people get promoted and I've seen some, big titles and all that stuff go, but this, to your point, Shah, is that more, do you feel performance, or does it really feel like a slow movement that could build to something great, or is it really not moving fast enough?
It could move a little bit faster than what I'm seeing,
Yeah.
There's a lot of money in this music business.
Yes.
It's a lot.
Because you're talking about, breaking down infrastructures.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you look at heads of labels, it's a rotation, so it's a lot of ceilings to break through. I could speak to what I've seen at Warner, where it's like, it's very much open conversation. We have, I can't remember the name of it, but like a new like board where like they're introducing conversations and we're having, you know, it's via Zoom now and everything, but it's just like different things that were never talked about openly and honestly. And that's where it starts. And, you know, definitely promotions, you know, we have a whole fund that we are investing in HBCUs and investing in making sure we have interns from HBCUs and providing opportunities as a major corporation to people who usually don't have access to those opportunities or don't know that those opportunities. And we're reaching out to our networks because it starts at the top, but it's also us on the ground who just like, no, I do know somebody who can do this, who probably would have never gotten a shot if this conversation hadn't been started. So it's going to be from the little things to the big things to make these changes. But it's going to take some time because it's an infrastructure of decades of how this industry was built.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I like how you say it's a combination of the little things and the big things. I think we know that the big things need to be a shift in power and leadership, right? Whether that means more Black people at the tops of these companies or more Black entrepreneurs kind of going outside of the traditional system and creating their own thing, a la a G-Unit, a la a TDE, a la a Dreamville, whatever. Even though they're part of the system to some degree, they are doing their own thing creatively and then just jacking into the system for distribution and what have you. What are the other factors do you feel like that will drive the evolution of Black music over time? I mean, we know the executive needs to be changed, but like, what are the other things on the smaller scale that these young people that are listening in can be doing now to help drive Black music forward in a positive manner?
Oh, be empowered for sure. Oh, so Shomani, we're gonna say
No,
something?
go ahead, please.
Oh yeah, get empowered. Use the resources that are out here. Don't wait on no one. Create your YouTube. You know, put your music out there. Use these TuneCore, CD Babies, and collaborate with your community, with your friends who are around you, who have your who have your best interest in mind, who are on the same page with you. You know. Who believe in your success and also where you can share their art as well. Because I think a lot of us, you know, we may let our ego get in the way and put ourselves only at the forefront. But I think if you share in collectively in the vision, like if somebody else is making your music video, then you have someone else probably help you with composing or, you know, use your composing your beats or, you know, so that creates a community. And then now you're creating your brand and you're having fun. And so, yeah, I can go forever on that way. Yeah.
I can say this.
Yeah.
For every artist right now that's getting a deal, the reason why he got a deal is because he somehow got hot, meaning he invested in himself. He paid for a video. He went for the studio, paid the mixer, paid the engineer. Something got paid for, something got invested in, and the audience love it. So guess what? You own yourself. You own your stuff. Don't go in this game selling yourself, you know? So when you go into the industry, you do a partnership. And if we all come in now doing partnerships and stop giving these artist deals out where we giving our ownership when we invest in ourselves to get to this hot point, because they're not investing in you when you're not hot. They're not going to believe in you if you ain't got one follower. If you know what I'm saying? So you better know that. And when you go do these deals, now it's time to change the playing field. That's when you go on with these partnership deals. That's where you see all the TDEs, the quality controls, and how Rough Riders and G-Unit and all of them were here, and then they get consumed and then it go away. Let's stop the consumption and keep the ownership. That's my whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to understand that nobody's going to invest in you before you invest in yourself. Like if you don't even believe in yourself enough to invest, then how could you ask somebody else to? And it's just like, get hot, stay consistent. You know, I say like normalize creativity. You know, if there's something that you are passionate about doing and you believe that it's going to work and this style is going to take off. Like you think of all the hottest artists we've ever known, it's because we never heard that before. And they were like, no, this is going to work. And so it's just like, if you feel that way, don't feel like you have to, you know, go into what's already hot. That's hot already. They did that. What's next? Like that's the name of entertainment. Is it looking for what's next? What can you do that nobody else is doing?
Yeah. And hip hop is more powerful than TikTok. Just like right now, there's no dance challenges because all the black dancers ain't doing it and there ain't nothing new popping on TikTok. Hip hop could do the same thing, man. We can stop the whole game if we just change it, you know? So we got the power. We just got to know how to use it.
Yeah.
I just finished that Netflix series, and I have a theory that I think No Limit may have started what TikTok is now. Like everything that came out of Louisiana had to dance with it. Everything in hip hop had to dance with it. If we think about when hip hop really started like take off, we didn't have social media at the time, but when you were in the club, you knew exactly what to do when Chingy came on. You knew exactly what to do when Juvenile came on. It's just like, you know what I'm saying? It's that culture. Like
it was in Atlanta for sure, definitely.
Packaged and sold.
Facts.
Yeah,
Facts.
it was in Atlanta. We was snapping.
Right. The franchise boys, it's like you knew exactly what to do.
Soldier Boy. Yeah, okay. That's fair. That's fair. I don't want to derail the conversation because I love where we're going, but there was one question from Casey because we started talking about deals really quickly. She just asked, curious to hear your take on 360 deals. So if someone can really quickly talk about their perspective on those deals versus what Shah's talking about, more like partnership, JV type, joint venture type of deals.
I've always learned to stay away from them, but I'd love to hear what Shah has to say about that. But I've always learned that you want to do partnerships, like a Nipsey Hussle, you know.
I agree. Partnerships is definitely better. And you make sure you get that back in and real money coming in. Not, you know, sometimes you get caught up in the wrong JV and then you're not getting no money. So you just got to make sure you got the right lawyer and go through all the points where you know that you receive it on the back end, not just the front end. And then it becomes an unrecouped bowl that never ends and you're wondering why you never recouped when you know the money has been made back. So you just got to do a partnership deal.
I have a question actually, Shah. Is there a difference, you think, signing a 360 deal as someone who writes and produces more of their own stuff versus someone who, you know, is more of a, say, performer of other, you know, collaborates with producers and, you know what I'm saying, something like that? Is it more lucrative to do a 360 if you don't actually have ownership in the music as an artist?
So the person that's doing a 360 is going to get the ownership in the artist. So I'm trying to understand the question.
So I'm saying if I'm more like, let's say, a Rihanna, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't write and produce, but I can give you a hit. And when I perform it, when I do it, it's out of here. Mm-hmm. But if I'm, let's say, Kendrick, and I'm writing everything, I'm getting beats from somebody else, but like I need that publishing money coming back at me. Like I should be more, if I'm writing and I'm creating like from the ground up, I would want to do more of a joint venture deal. So I'm making sure that I'm keeping my ownership rather than, you know, a 360 where the label's taking more, but they're also tasked to invest more to get me those writers, get me those producers, get me on these tours and all these big looks.
Yeah, which they never do. So you're giving up those rights for no reason. So I would,
fair point.
You on the Kendrick side, you know, if you built self-made, it's all about you and your team, TDE. So you make sure you and your team eat, and then y'all could do it, you know. And then you do a partnership with the label, but they just get from the part that they actually generate the revenue from the sales, the streams, and you know everything else. But if you're building it from the ground up and coming in already hot, you don't have to give up those rights. That's you're paying yourself with your own money. All you gotta do is wait another year, and you're gonna see that same check even more. So that's, you know, that's what they always do. They pay you out fast, so you don't get to see what you're really supposed to see. You know,
I saw this interview with Young Dolph, and he said he turned down, I think it was like $22 million, and he almost did the deal, and then he left the lawyer's office like, nah, I don't want to do that. He's like, if they give me $22 million now, I know they got more money for me in the bank, you know. That's and right. It was really kind of a crazy thought that someone walk away from that kind of money. He's like, it was everything I wanted in the deal, but then I just sat in my car. I was like, they got more money than that. They're gonna give me 22. That means they got 44. Right. And it was just this crazy notion. I was like, wow, that's really impressive for someone to have that discipline to know their value and be able to press for a little bit more and be patient enough to get that. Now, that's not for everybody to do.
Everybody has that in it, but it's,
you know, but he has, to that point, he has that business in him. I want to go back to something that was kind of stirring in the conversation before around finding support and gathering help as you're starting out your career. How important is mentorship to you all, both receiving it as executives and entrepreneurs and creatives, as well as giving it to the younger generation?
It's very important. I mean, I have many mentors, whether they know it or not, that, you know, have helped me, make hard decisions, or, giving me a different perspective on things, and just been a sounding board for if I have something that I want to try or just had a question, that I could not value that. Like, I don't know even where I would start to value that. And because of that, I, actively seek to give that back, because I've known how important it is just to be able to have somebody that you can trust, and that could be in the industry or not. Like, I've been lucky enough to have that growing up as well. So it's just like, to be able to continue that into my professional career, it's definitely something that I'm focused on being a mentor, or just somebody who can give you honest advice and feedback, as well as relying on those who I consider mentors to me.
Absolutely. Dior, what's your take on it? Or do you have mentors? Are you a mentor?
I kind of got thrusted into mentorship with building DC Music Summit, but I do love giving back. So it became natural, and I love to share information, and sharing knowledge is valuable. Looking for mentorship is, if you can find an awesome mentor, that is great. But I also think there's different mediums to where you can find mentorship. Especially now, the resources are plentiful, going on YouTube and just like, watching documentaries of like Nipsey Hussle's career, and how he he always is dropping gems on, how he was hustling, out of his, trunk and moving forward. And same thing with like Master P. So, I feel like there's different ways where you can seek out that mentorship, and you'll have to be able to discern advice, and, take what you can really use, and, make sure that again, that it's someone who has your best interest in heart, to learn from. But yeah, you don't have to go, look for a mentor that might be a bit challenging, but, or follow someone whose drive and whose vision is focused, yeah.
Shah, what's your take on mentorship?
Yo, mentorship is important. Rest in peace, Jam Master Jay. He took the time to give me a lot of information that helped carve my career out. And he was just there for me. He didn't have to be. And it's those little times where you able to answer somebody's questions and give them some advice, or just give them some kind of motivation to let them know that there's a better way to do it, or a different way to go, And that time with someone that gives you that is important. For the new generation that needs that information, need that guidance. So for me, I always make myself available for them, and so it's important. It's definitely important, because a lot of these, kids now in this new generation think they know it all, but some of them, you really need that guidance. You need to know how to do certain things before you mess it up. It's good to know,
Yeah. And I think that's super important to have that one-to-one type of connection with certain people, but to Dior's point, sometimes you don't have the ability to meet that person or have a relationship or rub shoulders with them. Who are some of the trailblazers you looked up to that you may not have a relationship with, but you just saw what they were doing and use that as motivation or information to pattern your career? That's for you. I'm gonna start back to you, Shah.
Oh, for someone that I didn't know?
Well, no, did you get like just someone you looked at, like just saw from afar and was like, oh, I want to be like him, or who those trailblazers?
Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, Quincy Jones, definitely.
I think you could beat that.
Yeah, I can't. I think he was probably one of the biggest influences for me, and Andre Harrell and Russell Simmons. Puff Daddy at a point was definitely motivation. And then I met him, so he don't count. Yeah. And
I want to get, of course, yeah. So I want to hear Keela and Dior's point, but I want to say this to the young folks listening. Just do yourself a favor, go to Netflix, watch the Q documentary on Quincy Jones. It's the best 3 hours you'll spend in your life learning about, arguably arguably the most talented man in music ever. Him and Stevie Wonder are like just gods to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's why I won't say the only one, but
Barry Gordy. Let me say Barry Gordy.
Oh, yeah.
Gordy, yo. Barry Gordy.
Can't forget Barry Gordy, who's the founder of Motown.
Meet him.
So yeah, yes, I've totally got into my fanboy mode for 2 seconds.
I think I might have a similar list.
I know, it's crazy,
Quincy
right?
Jones, Barry Gordy. LA Reid and Babyface starting LaFace Records, and watching them do that from a creative aspect was really cool because I was a huge TLC fan. So to watch like that business story unfold and then see their label, it was just like a really cool introduction to the business of music for me. And like made me want to do this, like, because I went to school wanting to work in the music industry. And so watching them and watching some of these other label heads, Puff as well, and just kind of seeing how you just had to carve your own way out of no way, honestly, and how to tell people like, this is hot, like this is gonna work, and watching it work, you know. And now looking back and seeing some of those stories now being told from, you know, some of those same people sitting back and being like, man, we did that. and then showing in now in documentary form or your social media, however you can access them, like really just taking those gems from afar and learning from their stories.
Yeah. I think for me was just watching a lot of, because I didn't have a lot of direct mentorship. I had a lot of my peers to look to. We were all competing. And I was paying attention to things like what the Roots did out in Philly. You know, they all came together in the basement and they, you know, came out and started producing all of these artists out of the basement in Philly. And then the same thing for Outkast and the Dungeon Family. Like I saw the collectives, and collectives seemed to work for me, and I love to collaborate. So in that, I found mentorship. And then the leaders, again, I'm going to repeat, you know, Master P, you know, putting like to me, he made me see artist entrepreneurship. So the fact that, you know, he went into like, I think he had No Limits wireless at one point, No Limit real estate. And I was like, okay, like, you know, he helped me to kind of see a lot more out of the box of the opportunities that were available. And then, you know, a lot of Jay-Z's rhymes later in life really helped me to see like, you know, how important it was to, you know, keep your mind on your money, you know. And then watching 50 Cent, I mean, 50 Cent really inspired me too. He's put out a number of films, and just watching again, you know, how he's not just a rapper, he's a rapper, and he's a storyteller, and he's a writer. And you know, finding those people and reading their books and listening to their stories helped me to really kind of see, you know, it can be done. You know, you put your passion behind it, can be done. So, yeah.
Don't forget Jay Prince on the entrepreneurship side.
Oh,
That's right. That's right.
For sure.
Absolutely.
On the low.
Definitely.
On the low, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Being
Sure.
stunner.
Yeah.
What, in your opinions, what are the obligations for Black musicians and artists, but also I would say executives, to use their platform to speak about social justice issues? Anyone can take that one.
I think it's a personal choice because it has to be real. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to fight that fight, it's a fight, you know, it's a fight we've been fighting for a long time. Yeah. And as an artist, especially now where so many eyeballs on you, and not only eyeballs, but like direct access to you. I can DM you, tweet you until you have to pay attention to me or whatever. But it's just like to put yourself out there on the front lines of that fight is a lot. And it takes a certain person with a certain character to do that. So I think it's a choice that, you know, every individual person really has to make. And there's different ways to fight it. Like you don't have to be on the front lines. You know what I'm saying? You could be, you know, financially fighting the fight. You could be fighting the fight by just every opportunity. It's on you to, I'm only, you know, you probably can't say this HR wise, but like I'm only, you know, giving opportunities to people of color, like however that can be framed. But it's just like there's different ways to do it. So I think you have to make that choice for yourself for what you can commit to as well.
What's your take?
Yo, every artist ain't for the people. So you can't just do it for the people if you ain't for the people. You know, you got to take someone like Lil Baby. He did it from the top to everything he did, from what you saw on TV and to what you didn't see, and then everything he did for the community. So you got to really be for it and not just try to be doing it just for the popularity contest or whatever. So, you know, I know a lot of artists, they just not for the people. So it got to be in you to do that, you know? And for me, I'm out there doing it from protesting to everything. So, I'm about that life. I'm for the people, you know what I mean? So it just got to be in you. And if it's not, just take a seat back and do it like she said. Other ways to invest, support financially, whatever else you can do, but we getting out here and just making sure we speak for the people.
Yeah. I agree with Keela and Sha. Same thing. Authenticity is so important. And as an artist who is political and is not afraid to use my platform for my voice, I do want you to be authentic. And I agree. There's just so many different ways that one can invest. I mean, Beyonce is dropping funds all the time. And like in this pandemic, she was helping, tons of small Black businesses thrive, and people didn't even know that was going on behind the scenes. So, I think actually it is very important for you to use your platform. You just have to find the most authentic way and for you to do it. Because artists should be about bringing change, in some sort of way. So yes, I do think it is important, but you need to find where you can be authentic.
I love that nuance around being authentic, because I feel like, and I've even been critical myself of like Beyonce and Jay-Z at certain times where I felt like these are the two biggest Black artists on the planet. Why are you not speaking out publicly about these things? And then there are certain things that we find out after the fact that they've done, or there's probably tons of things they've done we don't even know about, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've personally felt like referencing Black artists and athletes of previous generations, where they were very visual and vocal and upfront about their stance on certain issues. I think now may be a time where people actually have the ability to use their power in different ways that are a little more covert, or not as less visible, but maybe more powerful in certain capacities, right? So that's a very great point, that people have to do what works for them and not necessarily what works for the expectations of the people, right?
And artists always have to be strategic, and that's the thing now that I've noticed a lot more.
I love what Meek Mill is doing. Sorry.
Meek Mill? Oh, yeah. I was just going to say there's certain people that can affect change in a way that most people couldn't even. And it might be quiet, but when it comes out is like a very huge shift in, in how things are done at the game. Like speaking to Jay-Z and just like what they did with Rockefeller and just different things like Rock Nation and, getting into the tour. It's just like, there's certain things that maybe you don't see it, but you will feel the impact of it.
Yeah. Right. All right, so we got a few more minutes left. I want to shift gears real quick, because I know y'all are tapped in and y'all know what's popping on the underground. Name an artist, one or two artists that you feel like, Black artists in particular, that you feel like are hidden gems right now that we should be up on. I know Sha got a ton.
I'm gonna say two people: Sandy Benjamin from Toledo, Ohio, and Chubbs the Dreamer from Florida.
Okay.
They're hidden gems, man, and they got something to say. And they saying what we talking about, they rapping about it, and they giving us that positive thing that we need out here.
I'm writing this down. Right. And I'm gonna check it out. I'm like that. I'm that guy. Dior, give us some DC people we need to listen to.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm from the DMV, and honestly, like there's tons of gems here in the DMV. I will drop a few names. Yes, Chris Styles Bacon, Cecily Music, Dior Ashley Brown, Flotus.
Right.
Is the Flow, IZAFLO. But yeah, we've got a slew of them down here that are fire.
Oh. Yeah. All right, Keela, your turn.
I'm not too underground. I'm gonna shout out a few of ours that I hope are.
Gotta play for the home team. It's cool.
Let's stay in the DMV for a minute. We got IDK, who speaking of an artist about his business, about his creative, and who can spit, who can party, all of that. Like he's got next. Out of Nashville, we have Brent Joy, R&B soul singer. Just great vocalist, amazing live act and writer.
All right. I got none. I'm old. I got my new list.
Write this one down. Right. I got one more. This girl, Brittany Carter from Chicago. She's so dope, yo. So dope.
Singer or rapper?
She rap. She's dope.
Okay. That's dope. All right. So we got a few more minutes. I got one question I want to ask you all before we go, because we have a lot of young people in this audience, and it's not often that people in their teens and early 20s get a chance to interact with people who are much more seasoned in the business. What are some resources that you can share to help these young people prepare themselves for a career in the music industry, whether that be advice or places they can go check out information, but just can you share some things that they should know now that they can start implementing in their career paths early?
I'm gonna pull up a book here.
I like that.
I actually recently came across the Tisch School of Music at NYU and the Clive Davis program. They have an online course, which is like a segmented version of their music industry course. So if you don't have the opportunity to, go to NYU and be in that program, like you can do the online course, and it's taught by industry professionals. I believe some of the professors from NYU. But I just came across that recently, and I thought that was a great resource.
Yeah, I teach there, so I know about it. It's through Yellow Brick. It's really good program.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was almost going to say the same thing because I actually went to NYU and I was in the marketing program. And that's what got me into Def Jam, because if you really want to be in this industry, the best opportunity is to get in as an intern. Because for one, you'll get in the building and you'll build some relationships, and you'll find a way to grow. And just being there and being available for every executive will make you grow if you're right there available to learn and absorb and do things that they need you to do. Yeah. So just using college as a platform and school to get into the buildings, because you can't just be an intern without college. So this is for the youth that's in college and that's actually trying to get into the industry. That's a great opportunity for them to use, because if I hadn't did that, I wouldn't have met Jam Master Jay. I wouldn't have met Chris Lighty. That's actually what got me in the game. And that was that free labor, that sweat equity that paid me back later, So you just that's my way to get in the game, because you gotta actually get into the game to be in the game, man. It's hard to play it from the outside.
Absolutely. I'm come to you in a second, but there was actually a question that came up earlier in the chat for you, Sha, about interning. The question was, when you were doing that during school, was it after school, or were you doing it while you're in school, and were you working for free, or were you getting paid?
Working for free, doing it after school. And I stayed even after I left school. And I wasn't even, you know what I mean? But they didn't know. So I just kept going until the point where I felt I made enough content. And then I just started selling tracks and my career started. So I turned it into something.
Gotta love hustle. Gotta love hustle. Yeah. All right. Final and ending answer from Dior. Share your gems for us. What book do you have for us to all delve our brains into?
Make sure you get all you need to know about the music business. The latest edition has a lot of good information in there. So yeah, go ahead and get that. You can get that on Amazon or anything, pretty much. I also wanted to say, please get involved in the DC Music Summit. Go to our website, dcmusicsummit.org, our Instagram @DC Music Summit. We're constantly doing these conversations to build a hub for artists, an ecosystem for artists to get educated and empowered on their business. And also, you may just want to connect with other awesome musicians and collaborate and make music. And we really are trying to create a shift of community. So please check out DC Music Summit. And we're always looking for interns and volunteers.
Love it.
Oh, I had one more thing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Temp agencies as well. Like labels, I learned that while I was interning. I actually went from an intern to a temp, and some labels have internal temp agencies. So if you're not getting hired directly, you can do a 6-month temp job that turns permanent, or temp agencies that work directly with entertainment companies.
Facts. I do remember those.
And the author to that book that Dior referenced, his name is Donald Passman. So you can look at the title, or that's like the one of the Bibles of the music business. Yeah, I've been enjoying this conversation, y'all. I ain't gonna lie, I could talk about this for hours.
Likewise.
Unfortunately, we're at the end of our time. So I want to thank each one of our panelists for sharing your insights and for everyone joining today. This marks our final industry session for the semester, so we'll be taking a short break for the summertime. It's been our pleasure for providing these critical conversations for you, and we want to thank you all for joining us week after week after week. Stay tuned for updates on our fall semester by following us on our socials @MusicForward. We'll see y'all next semester. Everyone stay healthy, stay safe, enjoy the summertime. Peace and love, y'all.